into Twisted Tales.
Twisted Tales, Twisted Tales, blood and bones and no contrails. Twisted Tales, truth got teeth and drags their nails. Urban riding, back road sins, dead men talking through the wind. Cursed out.
Hey everybody, it's me, Jeremy, and another fantastic episode of Twisted Tales brought to you by the All Access Family Network. This evening, I'm proud to bring on the man who is the creator of The Common Historian. He's a seasoned podcaster. Let's bring him on, Mr. Jeremy Brunton.
Hey, Jeremy.
Good evening, sir. Hey, how are we doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for taking the time out and coming on the show. You know, I know we talked previously on your podcast, and I was looking forward to bringing you over here. And you know, yep. Turning the tails a little bit and seeing seeing a little bit of what goes on your side of the world. So if you could just want to get started, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the podcasting.
Well, I got started really with YouTube about, I think it was November 2024, and what happened was I wanted to start a YouTube channel, so I started making. The Common Historian was supposed to be a history kind of channel,
yeah.
And so I made a few history shorter videos. They didn't really turn out the way I wanted them. They weren't getting the response I wanted. So I did one that had like a paranormal aspect to it, and it actually did much better than the others. And so I started doing more and more of that. And then I just came up with, where history meets the supernatural. So I kind of try to dig into the kind of the history behind some of the different locations. And it's also not just that. I like to hear the stories that, that you've been on my podcast.
Right.
And I like to dig into the stories, hear the adventures that other, investigators, location owners, they have experienced. And I didn't really get into actually doing the podcast itself. I switched over to that in, I think it was August of 2025. It was when I first started doing the official podcast, and I did a complete switch over. And I'm enjoying it now. I do 2 episodes a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Of course, I don't compete with you. Mine come out at 5.
Oh, I know. Well, I know you do a lot of work on YouTube, and I've seen, because you even have it broken down in segments. Because I catch it on TikTok. I'll see excerpts from different ones pop up through TikTok and other social venues. That's I really like to do, I have the main podcast, and then I like to clip it down, and I send it out. As you know, I call it, I almost spam it out to all the others, trying to get everyone to come back to watch the main show. And it's a great idea, because I call it marketing, because we have these amazing platforms, like all of your socials, hey, thank you, Nate. How you doing, man?
Hey, Nate.
You have your Facebook. You have, hey, Morgan, how are you?
Hey, Morgan.
You have all your Facebooks and your Instagrams and your TikToks and your Snapchats and all these different platforms, YouTube. So why not utilize them to get the biggest possible audience that you can? Because the more views you get, the more interesting it can be. Because you don't want to be showing it to the same 15 people over and over again. It can, and you want to grow your brand. You want to get bigger and possibly do it. Get bigger and bigger and get better hosts and get better guests actually. And
it seems like one hand washes the other, and because I know that if you promote people and then they help promote you, it's I think it's great. I love having all of this like free advertisement. Like that's why I do all like my promo videos, and then I'll put out the ad video, and then like Nate and I we have our Wicked Wednesdays how because we have our joint thing going on now because he's right before me, so might as well promote, because it's a lot of fun that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I when I can, I do a kind of a promo for the episode. It really depends on my, my real work schedule. This is my extra. So if I have the time, I do it. Otherwise, I, unfortunately, I'm not able to do one of those pre ones. But I try. Sometimes I get that, and sometimes I don't. But
well, it's cool. Like for me, I mean, whenever I find a free moment, I'll drop one in. I'll sit down and I might even make 2 or 3 at a time, and then I have them in the bank, and then I can actually roll them out when I need them, if possible. Jeremy squared. I love it.
Yeah,
it's not too often that you get 2 people with the same first name on the same podcast at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So you said that the show's been on since August of last year.
Yeah.
But you've actually been doing shows before that. It's just been more.
No. That was actually when I started. I just, I decided I was going to do a format change. I wasn't going to make as many of the videos, and I was just going to go to straight, doing interviews. And it was. I thought about it for about a month. I think I started like in July. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, well, let's try it. So I tried it with the Misfits Paranormal crew, which is a local paranormal group that I've been working with off and on, and I had a blast. They're crazy, love them, but they that went off well. I got decent views, so I just continued to I started booking once a week and came out on Saturday nights, and I record ahead of time.
Right.
I haven't went live, though I'm thinking about it possibly this summer, but haven't committed to that yet.
It's okay. When you pre-recording, you can edit if you have to and do things that to make it the best possible product that you wanted to. Going live, things happen.
Never know.
I love being live. I think it's a lot of fun. I live in the moment, so it's hard for me to like sit there and go back and rewatch everything. Be like, oh man, did I really like this or not like that? So getting involved in like the paranormal and the supernatural and integrating into that show it seems like it's really broadened your horizons, and it actually gives you a lot more to expand on it, and it opens up the doors for a lot more guests.
Yeah. And at first I was just kind of focusing on kind of the haunted aspect of things, but I've, expanded into cryptids. I'm actually going to I think it's going to be one of my April episodes. We'll have, and I apologize, I can't think of his name, but he's going to come on and tell his UFO story, and he's written some books. I can't think of his name now, but anyway, but he'll be coming on. He's, and like the episode that actually dropped tonight was with Master Gonsun.
Okay.
And he's from actually Thailand.
Oh, wow.
And he has his own kind of group, or I think it's like a sect of Taoism. And we explored, he had a ghost story he wanted to tell. He told that. And then we talked about kind of the differences between the West and the East when it came to the paranormal. Yeah. It was a fascinating, I would never have gotten that opportunity to talk to, someone like that,
right.
If I wasn't doing the podcast. But it was such a fascinating episode.
I think like getting a chance to talk to people from everywhere, is an amazing experience, So when you came up with the name of the common historian, was that just something that popped up on your head, or was that something you had thought about for a while, or what was the origin of the actual name, the common historian?
It was kind of, I wanted something, different, but not. And I said, well, there's all these different types of historians, but there's, I feel like I'm just a common person that likes history. And so I said the common historian, and like I said, it was originally supposed to have been a history type channel.
Yeah.
And I just kind of plastered the name with the supernatural now, but it kind of, I think it works. I do, my background, I played around with AI and got that.
You have a pretty cool background. I got to give you credit for that. It encompasses just about everything you can possibly think of for the paranormal,
Yeah. And that was the goal of it.
No, it's cool because it gives a depth. It makes people wonder, like, okay, what's really being talked about here? I mean, it says a common historian, but there's like everything under the sun behind you, whether it's the spaceships and the trees and the darkness and all that kind of stuff with the skulls.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty cool like that. Jesus. So being involved in it. So who've been some of your favorite guests that you've had, like the most intriguing ones, as far as like when you've been getting into the paranormal part of it? Like,
I really enjoyed my conversation with Milt at the Farnsworth Inn in Gettysburg.
Okay.
He's great. I really like that. Of course, I had you. We went everywhere. I think we went down a lot of rabbit holes in our episode.
That's where my mind goes, right down every rabbit hole you can think of. So,
and I had Nate on for my Halloween special. And we talked about everything under the sun, I think, during that. We went from cryptid to haunted to just about everything and anything. So it was great. I'm just trying to think of some of the other. I've had so many guests that, they're all so. I tried to make a variety of who I have on. The Greystone Manor, Heather Matson.
Okay.
That story was very. I like the history, of course. The history of the Greystone Manor was.
I'm not quite familiar with the Greystone Manor myself.
It's out near Buffalo.
Okay.
And they have many. Before the show, she sent me like the whole history of the house, and then and it was fascinating. I really enjoyed that conversation. Preston Castle, the lead investigator for she was great as well. So many guests I've had. Jeff Ballinger did my Christmas episode with me.
Okay.
And we talked about all the anti-Christmas, I would say,
anti-Christmas,
So it's been fun, and my upcoming schedule is packed full as well.
Okay, that's cool. Oh my god. So who do you have on, like I know you've definitely had a lot of guests. Who's like on your like wish list of future guests for your show? You must have like a list of people you might be interested in.
I'd like to get is it Richard Estep on?
Oh, I've met Richard. Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
he would be on. And I'm just trying to. You put me on the spot. I'm of course trying to think now.
No, take your time, man. That's good.
There's quite a few that I'd really like to have. That I've. And then there's Sam, and I always mess his last name up.
Beltrusis?
Yes. I always mess his name. I'm terrible with names.
That's okay.
I massacre names. That's what I always tell everyone.
Right.
But I know I've reached out to him. I think eventually we will. He's busy, so I
He's
think eventually.
he's actually a great guy. I'm actually very good friends with Sam.
Yeah,
I've done investigations with him at like the Lizzie Borden house. We've done the USS Salem and several other different locations, the Concord Colonial Inn and whatnot and so forth. And he's very busy. He has like his spirit squad, and he's all over the. Talk about a guy who's all over the place. It's hard to nail him down. I haven't even had a chance to have him on my show yet, and he's like, I've known him for like over a decade, and he's like Jello, trying to nail Jello to the wall with a fork. It's hard to get him on.
Oh yeah. He, I've seen his conference schedule, and he's quite busy. Plus, I think he's writing a couple books too. So,
definitely.
But those would be a couple that I can think of. That are on my kind of list that I would like.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of like for me. I've been working on like trying to get like horror celebrities, and I get a couple of people lined up that coming up in the next couple of months that I'm really looking forward to having on the show that I didn't think I was going to get my hands on, but thankfully one hand washes the other, and some really good friends of mine to help me like locate these people. So
yeah,
networking is the hardest part. Hey Jason, how you doing, man? Jason's a good guy. He likes to watch the show every week. So have you done any actual like investigating yourself yet, or have you got?
I have not yet.
Okay.
But I did live in a haunted house for 2 years, and so that was an experience. And also May 16th, I'm actually going to be doing my first investigation at the Wildwood Sanitarium. So with the Misfits,
going to the Wildwood? Nice.
Yeah, with the Misfits paranormal crew, we're going to be heading there, spending the night. So
when you going to be heading out to the Wildwood?
May 16th.
Oh, good. It's going to be warmer weather.
Yeah, we waited for the warmer, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. With living in the haunted house for 2 years, I'll see if if something can, frighten me or not.
So let's talk about it. You said you lived in a haunted house for a couple of years?
Yeah, for about 2 years.
Was that when you were growing up, or was that more in your adult years? Or
it was when I was in my probably mid 20s, and about 20 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. Basically, it was right next to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And one of the oldest cemeteries in the town. And I think some of that stuff came over from that cemetery. We had everything from, shadow figures to full body. I saw at least 2 different full body apparitions in my 2 years there, multiple times, the same 2. One of the times I was going, it was a 2-story house. I was going upstairs to get something up, and it was in the evening. And what happened was the stairs, it was an older house. So you'd go like this, and then it would curve, and then there would be a landing, and then you go up to the top to the first bedroom. And then there's a hallway where the other two or three bedrooms were.
Okay.
And as I turned the corner from the landing and up, I saw coming out of the hallway, it was a woman in white. And she walked, it was like she was solid almost. And she went and walked right into the wall and disappeared.
Wow. Robin is asking where that was located. I believe
it's in Ellenburg, New York. It's no longer there. Unfortunately, when we moved out, we were renting. They tore it down.
Oh,
So there was some sewer issues with the sewer, and the owner didn't want to, fix it. So they tore it down, and now there's actually where the sign is. There's a sign for the senior housing where the house used to be.
That's unfortunate. I mean, it happens. It does happen to a lot of, haunted houses or places that spirits live in, and it's really sad. Like it's there one minute, gone the next.
Yeah, because that thing, I always say I'm going to go back to that where the sign is and
Right.
see if there's anything still there. Because I imagine they remember me.
I'm sure.
They were, we used to hear babies crying, phantom babies upstairs crying. We'd be watching
wow.
TV downstairs, and you hear a baby crying upstairs.
Yeah.
And you know that there's no one up there. My wife said that while I was at work, she would hear it sounded like dancing.
Okay.
And it was just her and my daughter, who was like, I think she was probably a year old then.
Yeah.
That was the only ones in the house, and it sounded like people were dancing upstairs. And there was another time I was waiting to. It was like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was waiting to go to work, and this had a garage. And like the house, they had there was a front porch, but then there was a garage in the back,
Yeah.
and you could put your car in and everything. And there was like a side door. Well, I usually stood out there and waited for I used to carpool, and I was waiting one morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning. It was wintertime, and I heard footsteps, and I was like, well, why is there someone coming up the side of my garage at 5:30 in the morning? So I went to look. No footsteps. It had fresh snow on the ground. There was no prints or anything. But I know I heard that it sounded like someone walking towards that door. But when I went there was nothing.
That's amazing.
So after a while though, for the most part, we kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were, other than the thing in the basement, there was, the rest of the house, the spirits that were there, but they didn't really overly bother us.
They get used to you.
Yeah.
You were there, and you showed them respect, they'll show you respect back. It's a good thing. And it's not like you were like threatening to have them exercise out of the house or do anything to incur any kind of negative energy on their part. They were just,
I do kick myself though. That I did not, I wasn't really into the whole, like now I would go and I'd be investigating my house every night. But back then I had no interest in that. I was in my early 20s. I had no interest in it. It
was just happening.
Yeah, it was happening. And I didn't think to, try to, communicate with them.
Right.
My wife just wanted them to go away.
Easier said than done sometimes, to be honest with you.
She was not, she wasn't a big fan of it. But yeah, that's, there's many stories, but those are a couple of them.
Oh, and you know what? We have plenty of time, so I find it very interesting because I've never lived in a truly haunted house. I mean, I'm sure when I was younger there was probably a spirit here or there that was attached to the land, and I know my grandparents' house in Sudbury, Massachusetts, definitely had a lot of energy on the land, and not that I didn't get into the paranormal until I was later on in life, so it's like I think I missed out on way too many things that I probably could have experienced, or maybe I did and just dismissed it, which I think is even worse because it's like, well, once you really get involved in really immersed in the culture, you sit there thinking about I wonder how many things I've missed out on that just happened around me, and I just was oblivious to everything and anything possible.
Oh,
know? And so yeah, I mean, making the transition from podcasting to actually going out and getting ready to do your investigations. I mean, did you like acquire any equipment, or
Well, the only thing I think I'm going to be going with is, myself and my phone and recorder. I did, but my daughter did get me a little camcorder type, to record with. But other than that, I probably will rely on whatever the Misfits have for equipment.
I'm sure. I mean, if they're a paranormal team, I'm sure they must have a bevy of equipment.
Yeah, I know they use the cat balls. They have some bells, or like the old fashioned bells.
Yeah.
And recorders, and I think they have a REM pod as well. And they have the standard stuff. And I know that Wildwood had said that if I needed to use any, then I could borrow some of theirs too. So
they definitely have a lot of equipment there. I mean, they said we went there a couple of years ago. It was an amazing experience. That place is loaded to the IT, full of spiritual energy for sure. Because I mean, I think you said you're up in the upstate. You're up in the New York area, right? Up in that.
Yeah, I am located about 45 minutes from Plattsburgh, New York.
Okay.
And about an hour from Montreal.
Wow.
So I'm right on the border.
How far are you away from Wildwood?
Wildwood's going to be about a 7-hour drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, because I live in Massachusetts. It took us like 7 and change to get there. I figured because you were already in New York, it would have been a short.
No, unfortunately, it'll be a 7-hour drive. We're going down the day before, and staying, just because it's gonna, it would be a long day. Driving down and then staying up and everything. So
when we went, dude, I'll tell you, we drove it was like 7 hours and 40 minutes or something along those lines. Had dinner, did the investigation at the Wildwood, slept in the Wildwood till the following morning, got cleaned up, whatever, and then we ended up heading to the Hinsdale.
Oh,
I think there might be only like one stop in between that we went to, some sort of like a graveyard or something like that, and then we went to the Hinsdale. And you want to talk about a location that I think would change your whole perspective on the paranormal. The Hinsdale house is definitely a location that opened up my eyes, because I mean, a lot of places, sometimes you have to do a little bit of work to get engaged into, the conversations. Hinsdale, right off the bat, man, I'm telling you, it's a different place, and it's like less than an hour between the Hinsdale and the Wildwood. They're
is it?
Like really near each other? And Dan Clace, who is the owner, is a hell of a dude. I've actually met him at several different paranormal events, and he's a really cool guy. If you ever get the opportunity, I would definitely put the Hinsdale on your list of places that you might want to.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about it and watched, I think, a few videos on there, and
right.
It is on my list, and who knows, maybe we'll go over there for just to at least see the house.
Like I said, I mean, it's not that far from Wildwood, realistically. I mean, if you're already out in that area, what the heck's the difference between going to one and the other?
Yeah,
I think we hit snow, I believe, on the way out, because we did the Wildwood. We shot over to Hinsdale. We stayed over at Hinsdale. Let me tell you something. When you stay overnight at the Hinsdale, sleeping is barely an option, at least for me, because it's like I can hear what's going on upstairs. I can hear what's going on, and there was nobody upstairs, but there were definitely people walking around up there and staring at us through the grate in between the two floors. getting a chance to stay in that place, whew, it's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. But yeah, the Wildwood happened to be the one we ended up choosing to be my first one. So
talk about breaking in nicely, you know.
Well, it was funny. I kind of I got the idea, and I'm like, I reached out to Melissa, one of the misfits. I said, "Hey, would you guys want to go on an investigation with me to the Wildwood Sanitarium?" And she was like, "Sure, but we're not going in the wintertime because it's a set that." But
No.
So we picked a time in May, and we're excited.
We went, and I think it was in December, like November, December. It was cold. It definitely was cold. It was a hell of a slushy drive, but it was worth every last minute of it. Now, what about Rolling Hills? I mean, I know you and Rolling Hills.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah,
okay.
That's not far from Wildwood either, is it?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, we've been to Rolling Hills like years and years ago. It's actually quite an amazing place, but I know it's in upstate New York. Up past like the Rochester-ish area, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of then. It's probably if it's a Rochester, because I'm pretty sure that's about 2 hours from Wildwood, if I remember correctly.
But definitely a long journey for you, for sure. You know?
It seems like it's easier to go to like Massachusetts, because Massachusetts is only 4 hours compared to the other side of New York.
Man, you should really like go to like Salem.
It's definitely on my bucket list. I want to go to Salem. My daughter wants to go to Salem. Well, I think I read is the Warren Museum going to Salem, or like
that's what I saw.
I read that.
I see it's going to be on Essex Street.
Yeah,
next to the Black Craft clothing place, I believe. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly, entirely.
Well,
although I would love to go see it up there, I don't know if all those artifacts should have been moved up there. I don't know. It's being a person who believes in enchanted objects and haunted items, I guess, depending on how you want to talk about it. I don't feel like that many high energy items should be moved simultaneously from one location to another. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't know if that's the, maybe slow moving them would be a better option. But yeah, I think that disrupting the kind of energy and flow of them being in one place and moving them to another, I don't know. I'm not an expert with that though, but that's kind of what I feel is the same as you, is that moving them all at once like that. I don't know.
Because they're not going to be moving them one at a time. They're going to be moving them. They're going to be boxing them up and moving them in mass.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on enchanted objects, haunted objects?
I do believe that. I believe that there is haunted objects. There was one podcast that I was watching, and I'm trying to remember which show it was. That I don't know if I have something, undeveloped, but there was a doll that someone brought on, and I think it was one of Nate's episodes with, is it Mark Warner? Maybe Mark?
Matt Warner?
Matt, not Mark. Mark's a football player, I think. Anyway, well, he put his doll on the he showed his doll, I believe, if I remember correctly. If I'm thinking of the right,
is that the one that has the noose around its neck?
I think so.
The older doll, yeah.
I get these feelings like it felt like the doll was staring right at me.
Yes.
And like my chest like got really tight, and I got like really emotional. It was weird. I've never had that before.
You never experienced anything like that
But I was
before?
just watching, Nate and him, and he had the doll on there, and I had like a reaction. I don't know what, it was weird. But I do believe in that. My daughter does not. Well, when she heard that Annabelle was going to Salem or moving to Salem, she was like, I don't know if I want to go to Salem now. She has no interest in seeing or being anywhere near Annabelle.
Okay, well, I mean, coming from somebody who's been in Annabelle's presence a few times, she's in a containment unit that has the sigils on it. It has all the prayers attached to it, and she's sealed very well. So it's not like you're going to get any residual energy off of her.
Yeah,
you might feel like she's staring through your soul, because that's how I felt the first time I looked at her. But I didn't really feel like that towards her. I get energy from objects, like anything from like a pair of crutches in an old house, or like you walk by a chair or something. It's like, oh, you can almost feel like the energy from the person who was previously sitting in that chair, or maybe even a bed that somebody had passed away in. That's some creepy stuff. And like, because I work in a hospital, and people unfortunately pass quite frequently in a hospital. Unfortunately, some people come in and they don't leave, and you can walk by certain rooms at certain times and be like, oh wow, okay, the hairs are starting to stand up on the end of my arms, and oh my, I gotta tell you, if I could tell you that I'd be talking about this stuff now versus a long time ago when I had no interest in anything. I mean, it was a different path, a different era back then, but I'm thankful that the paranormal gives me a passion and things to enjoy, And so you mentioned your bucket list of places that you want to go. Why don't you tell me about some of those locations that might be on Jeremy's bucket list for the common historian to go visit?
I would really, I think, of course, the Winchester Mystery Mansion.
Oh, that's on mine too. Oh.
Yeah, that's definitely the Edinburgh Castle. I would love to go. England, Scotland, Ireland. I would have a field day.
Oh man, yeah, you're talking my language on that end of the coin, no doubt.
Like the Rams Inn. That's on my bucket list.
What is it?
It's the old ancient Rams Inn. It's a very old inn, and it's very haunted. I don't know if you. I gotta
look it up now. Now you mentioned something that I've never heard of before, so that's pretty cool.
But it's in England. It's very. I think it was maybe built in the 1600s.
Okay.
But it was, that's on my bucket list of where I, would really like to go. Just in the U.S., the Whaley House, and I think it's San Diego, California.
Oh.
Would like to go there. Just trying to think of some of the other places. There's so many that I would like to go.
Now, what about like places in New York, like Sleepy Hollow or
Sleepy? Well, I've been to Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
I did go there the year before I started my channel. I actually, it was it was in October, and in November I started my channel. And I kick myself because I could have had so much content if I would have recorded more, or did a lot more in Sleepy Hollow, because we took a tour of the cemetery. I love that thing. I don't think I even saw the whole thing.
That cemetery, I swear you could walk that thing for hours and not even you could walk the whole thing and not see the same gravestone twice. It's so big with all the monuments and all of the it's amazing. Like, I remember driving the car through it, and we spent like a good amount of time just driving around in there, and not walking, just driving around it because it was just like so massive.
Yeah.
If you walked around it, you could spend hours walking around in there, and like I said, probably not even see the same thing twice.
Another place I'd like to go is Preston Castle in California. I interviewed them, and just the history there. Of course, any place with history I absolutely love. So,
absolutely. So when you bring on guests for different locations after the show, do you go and you do research to try to like back up the stories that people have
sometimes I do. Usually I do a lot of the research prior to interviewing them.
Right.
When I'm kind of developing my questions, I kind of pull from the history, and trying to ask stuff around that. Not, I do also like to hear the personal ghost stories and stuff like that, but I also do try to kind of relate the history to some stuff that they've experienced, and a lot of it does match up. Like stuff that they have experienced is stuff that you can relate to some of the history that's happened.
Well, that's pretty cool, because you spend a lot of time trying to connect like the real history and stories and trying to make sense of it all. I mean, sometimes you do it for your own personal gratification. Like, okay, that makes a lot more sense to me now. I mean, and then when you start diving into like cryptids and aliens and Bigfoot, I mean, I guess Bigfoot could be put into cryptids, but some people prefer he has his own particular subsect of everything. And then, there's so many cryptids. I mean, I don't know how far you've dove into cryptid lore, but my God, there are so many. I think I have a book that's called the Encyclopedia A to Z on Cryptids, and it's just amazing how many different versions and variations of them there are.
Oh, there is. One of my upcoming episodes that'll be coming out, I think, end of this month, beginning of April, is I'm going to be talking with D.A. Wysong and Ron Murphy. They've been on my podcast multiple times, and we're going to be talking about the squonk from Pennsylvania.
Can you give me a little bit of I'm not really sure. Don't think I've heard of that particular cryptid.
So basically, the squonk is a cryptid that came from lore from the lumberjacks.
Okay.
And it's not really a fearsome creature. It's a smaller cryptid, and they say you cannot catch it because if you try to catch it, it will turn to tears.
Okay.
I don't know a huge amount about it. That's just a little bit of research I've done on it, but I'm hoping to learn a lot more once I get Ron Murphy. He's actually wrote a book on the squonk. So
that sounds pretty cool. I do have some interest in cryptids and aliens. I mean, I primarily had stayed with like the paranormal side as far as like the ghosts and spirits and communication and stuff like that. But I find all of it to be wildly interesting, And,
it is.
So I'm going to ask bizarre questions because that's just what I do.
Oh, that's fine.
How do you feel like, in my interpretation, I feel that cryptids, aliens, and spirits, they're all connected. And because it's all part of the same paranormal umbrella, I feel that they're all connected. And I mean, what do you think about that particular idea?
I think they are too. I personally think that most of them are going between dimensions. They're interdimensional.
Right.
That's why they're not always there and active, or you're not always seeing them, is because they might not be in this dimension currently.
I mean, that makes sense. It's like, to me, it's like I feel like the Bigfoot or whatever Yeti, they're definitely aliens of some sort, because something that big should not be able to cloak that easily. Like,
Yeah.
how can something that averages between the sizes of like 8 to 10 feet tall, depending on your particular, stories, can hide behind a tree that's like 1/3 their size?
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't make, they're there 1 minute, they're not. Some people see them, some people don't. Let's be honest, 90%, almost 100% of the videos that you see are man-made, because they're not crazy enough to want to get caught on camera. Let's just call it what it is, and that's why, like, in my personal estimation, like the aliens and Bigfoot and the cryptids, they're all linked in one big paranormal umbrella, and it's okay, because it just makes it more interesting, because it makes you want to see everything that's there. It's kind of like when people say that, like, mankind, our version of mankind right now is not the same version that was here before. We're like the new version of mankind, because of all the things that they keep finding, and all these discovering of all these, and because being a historian, all these new digs that they do in the jungle, or they do in the Antarctic, and they're finding all these like anciently like ruins or like contraptions that they can't possibly explain, like what it is, even in modern science, like boxes with gears on them that they're finding buried in the dirt, that we have no idea how it works, know. And they're always trying to find a new reason to explain why the pyramids are there, because I still don't believe that those things were built by mankind.
I don't believe that either. I just don't see physically how they could have back then.
They claim that they used the Nile to transport the stones down. Transporting the, you know what? I might even give them transporting the stones down. But
how did they? Yeah.
But the minute you get past the base layer, Jeremy, and you try to go up to the next level, it increases the weight of those things by tenfold, because what were they using? Boards and logs to try to roll them up? Impossible.
Yeah.
Mankind can't possibly move those things with their own arms and legs. They had to have had some sort of, extraterrestrial help.
Yeah.
And anybody's like, oh no, they were able to move them. I'm like, I don't believe it, because they say that those stones were thousands of pounds a piece. And then when you move it, then as well as I do, if you take a stone and you try to move it by about 10 to 15 degrees to roll it up whatever kind of ramping structure they possibly came up with to get to the next level, it increases the weight exponentially. And that's why I have a hard time with believing all of that it was all man-made. Directly.
Yeah, and also the fact that that we have the pyramids, and then we also have the kind of the pyramids that are very similar in South America, Mexico, that area too. And they probably are claiming that they did the same thing as the Egyptians, but they had to have some kind of technology.
Well, and the fact that Stonehenge in England is remotely lined up with the Stonehenge that's in New Hampshire and in the New England area, because I've actually visited that Stonehenge, American Stonehenge, the one that's over here, and then there's another one somewhere else, and all three of them are actually like lined up. They've proven that if it's like lined up, they've done all sorts of tests and things of that nature. I don't know all of the history of it. I was trying to watch it at one point, and I think I might have dozed off, because God only knows if I try to watch something interesting, but I've been awake all day long, I can't get all through it. But like physically going and visiting the American Stonehenge, the one that's in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Wow, man. I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to go to that particular spot, just to walk around it, the energy there is amazing. It really is.
Yeah, I'll have to try to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like if you were coming towards like the Massachusetts area or through New Hampshire or anything like that, it's realistically, I never had been there before. I had heard about it, and then my friend and I, we went there, and just walking around it, you see how people, see like how people lived in these like stone, like holes in these stone stacked walls, and and it was just, it's an amazing set up with the giant sundial, and every stone that's set up is set up in a particular time and point in history, and they have documentation that backs up all of it, and it's quite astounding.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're into all that kind of the history and
Yeah,
and how things are done, I mean, it's amazing how each one of those particular stones is lined up to a particular moment in time. It's just and how it goes in. I forget exactly like where it goes, but I know that everyone has a particular destination at a particular day, at a particular time. It's quite amazing in my mind. And so I know that we're winding down, but I wanted to say you told me earlier that you were a fan of professional wrestling, and obviously you know that my previous life before getting involved in the paranormal, I was a professional wrestler myself. And so, who were some of your favorites when you were growing up as a kid?
when I growing up, of course, Hulk Hogan. You know, he everybody's. And as some of my other favorites, Bret Hart. He was, even when he did his whole, heel turn and, was hating the U.S. I was, I'm on the Canadian border, so close enough. I was still liking him.
No, that's cool. So were you more of a fan in like the late 80s, early 90s?
It was probably 90s. I kind of
90s?
stopped paying attention as much. Probably early 2000s. I still paid attention because Randy Orton's my favorite all time.
Oh, I'm sure you saw what he just did to Cody.
Oh, loved it. I love a good heel.
Yeah, I agree with you. You need the good heels in order for the baby faces to be as prominent as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s, so it's like I had like vintage Roddy Piper and Hogan was a good guy. I was a fan of the good guys for about the first couple of months, and then when I started seeing like all these big guys like King Kong Bundys and stuff. Hey, Matt Hawks, man, good to see you, brother. I'm glad to see you. Matt is a tremendous guy. He and his wife, they own a location out in Wisconsin, and I have them coming on in April. Really, really cool guys. Big Daddy is a childhood favorite. Oh, Big Daddy, because he's from, I think, was that England? Big Daddy? I believe so. I'm not sure.
I think.
But, I was always a heel guy. I mean, I had some of my other favorites like the Junkyard Dog and guys like that. And in the 90s, I mean, you got to experience in the 90s the whole Monday Night Wars, which was probably one of the pivotal points of professional wrestling.
I was always, even though the WWE or F or whatever, they were losing for the longest time. I still stayed loyal to them, even though I did catch WCW, because the NWO was cool. Back then I thought they were cool. And I love Scott Hall. He was one of my favorites when
Rest
he was
in peace,
Ramon. Yes, and so when he went over there, it was tempting to just kind of jump ship, but I still stayed loyal, even though it was brutal during those early 90s when we had plumbers and race car drivers and
oh God, I hated that new gen. The whole new gen
that was horrid.
Oh, god awful. Yeah, Big Daddy is from England. I was right back in the 80s. Big heavy set dude. Yeah. See, I know my history of wrestling. I still follow it to this day. Not as much. Like I said, I was definitely in the 80s and all the way through the 90s, 2000s. I kind of slowed down a little bit in the last couple of years just because I've been more focused on the paranormal and with that and being actually in the business for 20 years or more, and so it gives you a different perspective. You know what I mean?
Well, I really like the more of the spook, the Undertaker and Kane. I love them.
Bray Wyatt.
Rest in peace for him too. I was a big fan. He ranked right up there with Randy Orton. And
The Fiend character, man. Oh my god.
Oh, the Fiend. I love the Fiend. That was great. And then also I used to love the Boogeyman. I don't know if you remember him. Loved the Boogeyman. Loved him and his worms. He ate the worms.
Well, go back a little bit. Kevin Sullivan was a big evil style character in like the 80s and stuff like that. The Dungeon of Doom in WCW during that whole early 90s rough period for both companies, because I mean they had all the goofy characters in WCW, where at the same time that the WWE had plumbers and the Birdman. The Birdman, Coco Beware. The Birdman.
Yes, Coco Beware.
My God, professional wrestling is still very near and dear to my. I don't think I'll ever stop enjoying it. I still go on like YouTube and I'll like look up old school stuff just to watch, because it's I can't help. I can't help.
My favorite manager, all time favorite manager, Jim Cornette. I love
Jim Cornette.
Love Cornette. He's my favorite.
I was very fortunate to have him as a manager for a couple of matches when he was in the NWA New England area at the time, and we were the main bad guys in the territory, and he actually managed us on a couple of shows.
That's cool.
Which was really, really cool.
Yeah, he's my favorite. I know some people are not big fans, but
how can you not be?
Do you
ever watch his podcasts?
Oh, I've watched. I like wrestling history.
Yes.
So I've watched his deep dives into where he goes through and talks about like every gate and the backstories on like behind the scenes and
the Jim Cornette experience, the cult of Cornette, all that kind of stuff.
I've watched. They're like 3 hours long. I think I've watched every single one. I watched like his whole Smoky Mountain.
My favorite thing that he does, I don't know if you've ever watched it, is the guest the program thing that he does with his co-host, where the co-host gives him the lineup and he has to guess like the year and the date and I'm telling you, they bring up wrestling history from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and you learn and you're watching like you're sitting there and you're learning so much about the history of it.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like how you're learning about the history of paranormal and you're putting all of that together. The history of professional wrestling goes all the way back to, the 1800s, as far as, the competition style sport, and even further back with all of the ties to like Greco-Roman back in like the, way back. And it's,
I know my dad used to, he said that his father actually watched wrestling too. My grandfather, and he said they always he used to throw stuff at the TV with Killer Kowalski.
That was my trainer. Kowalski was actually my trainer in Boston back in the early 90s when I got involved in 91. He was actually my trainer in Boston.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, because I he was always the one that my dad used to talk about.
Yeah. Oh man, so unfortunately, it looks like we're heading towards the end of our trail here. I mean, I know once we start diving into like wrestling and stuff like that, the conversation could go forever. So what I like to do here, and I don't know, obviously you've seen the podcast several times, where I like to talk about like the Mount Rushmore of like horror characters, if you're actually into like horror movies or whatnot. And so if you could, what do you have like a Mount Rushmore of horror characters that you particularly like?
I do. I watch some horror. I not as much as I used to. I used to watch it a lot more.
Right.
My list is probably a little more unconventional.
Please.
But of course, the top one would be Michael Myers, of course.
Okay.
He's you really can't stop him. That would be the first one. My second one would be the original Pennywise.
Oh, shout out to Tim Curry. Yeah.
Pennywise, the original. I that's the one that
the Tim Curry version, yeah.
Yeah. And then I would have to go with the Candyman.
I don't know the movie.
Ooh,
You know,
I like that.
Candyman.
You're the first person who's mentioned Candyman.
You know, and then my final one, and this is probably, and I think the reason that I put them in here is because it's like horror come to life, like it could have Cujo.
Oh, the dog from Cujo. Nice.
Yes,
That's pretty cool, man.
Those would be my four. It's a little unconventional, other than Michael Myers, but
that's okay because everybody has their personal favorites. That's why I always ask the question. It's like you might not be a huge horror guy, but you've watched you've watched the movies, so you have your personal preferences. And for me, my number one is always Freddy, and sometimes it changes the other ones in between depending on my mood at the time and stuff like that.
Well, Freddy would get an honorable mention.
I can never get away from him, man. Robert Englund was always my personal favorite, and I feel bad for Jackie Earl Haley, but that's a different story for a different time. But man, I would like to say thank you very much for coming on the show this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you on and get to know you a little bit more and introduce you to my audience and other audiences. And so this is Jeremy Cotter, and this is Jeremy Brunton, the common historian. This was Twisted Tales, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Gwen, take us home.